Well, it's another week and we're a couple of days late, but here we go with another Hot Air Sports podcast. And it's probably best if we did it a little later on in the week. And good to see that Aaron, based up in Auckland there, is covered because we were both a bit angry after some of the VAR and TMO decisions on the weekend.
Careful, mate. Yeah. Did you say I'm COVID? Oh, no, I'm covered. Yes, covered. Oh, enough with the masks already, man. They're annoying, aren't they?
They certainly are.
They are annoying, but it's a necessity in Auckland at the moment. If you're going around town, going on public transport, wear the mask. We're going to go by the rules. We're going to stop this, nip it in the bud. We can do this, New Zealand.
Quite right. Quite right.
Yeah, COVID, though, it's wrecked sport, mate. It's been a hell of a last couple of weeks since we've spoken. There's been so much on, so much to talk about, so much controversy. I've been so wild at times. So have you. You and I have been firing angry text messages and say, let's just save it for the podcast. Let's save it for the podcast. So today is going to be cathartic. We're going to let it all out.
Absolutely.
Coming in off the long run.
For the first time in well over 50 years, I nearly turned off the All Black test after 25 minutes. It was pretty close. Those... Yeah, well, you know, it happened again over the weekend, and it seems like every weekend, both in the rugby test and send-offs for marginal tackles, and in the Premier League with suspect handballs and dodgy offsides. How many times have we spoken about this, that technology was brought in to get rid of the howler? Now, every single thing is being looked at right down to the millimetre. Numerous replays slowed right down to get the right/correct decision. Is it too over the top? Should they only rule on clear and obvious errors? Yes, they should only rule on clear and obvious errors. Come on!
I'm almost at the stage where I long for the days where the referees made mistakes. You know, it was like, you're like, oh, well, the ref made a mistake. He had a bad game. We can deal with that. Now it's like everything gets hyper-analyzed within a millimetre of its thing. That okay, let's start with the rugby, the rugby test. You said you nearly turned it off. It just became a farce, mate. It's like you're not allowed to tackle within 1 millimetre of, you know, and now they've dished out a couple of suspensions for them both. The ref made a rod for his own back. He couldn't go anywhere after stuffing up the first time. He had to send the second guy off. Then he had to send yellow cards all over the place. And it just reduces the game to just absolute farce. I mean, they need to look. I completely understand for foul, cynical play. You know, red card, no problem. But these weren't those malicious type of acts. They were at best careless and yellow card at the absolute most. If you have to, even that for 10 minutes, you know, gives the other opposition team too much of an advantage for me. So, you know, penalty would have done. I mean. I don't know, mate. I don't know.
I mean,
it's just
the first one. I didn't even think it was a penalty. I thought it was a good front-on tackle. And yes, his head did come into contact with Offa's bicep.
Yeah, after it hit him about there, and it sort of slid up. I mean, what do they expect with contact? And then they watch it, hyper-watch it in slow motion.
Yep.
So that and it's not like that. The game is going so fast. There's collisions happening everywhere.
Yep, I actually found myself agreeing with Justin Marshall on the weekend, which doesn't happen very often. And even he said the first one didn't even warrant a penalty, let alone a red card. And then, as you say, he created a rod for his own back and had to set off the Australian guy. That was probably a bit harder. That one was more of a shoulder to the head. Maybe a yellow, definitely.
Maybe.
But red cards, come on. John Kerwin actually came up with a good scenario.
That makes a change.
Yeah, I know. I don't agree with it either. But there's 3 levels of punishment you can have. Mm-hmm. A yellow card, you're off for 10 minutes, and then you come back on. A red card, you're off, but you can be replaced after 10 minutes. And then for the absolute disgusting acts like a stomp on the head or, you know, really
gouging or something like that,
then your team is down to 14 men for the rest of the game, and you go on report.
But once again, that relies on interpretation of the act, you know. Yeah. And if we're going to get the same referees interpreting that is what they're interpreting this, then we're going to have the same problem, because what it takes is, I mean, common sense, man. Common sense. People that have been and watched the game a lot, or played the game, or officiated the game, they need to be involved in these decisions. They can't just be some computer analyst square who's sort of like, well, I can see here when we do the analysis that this guy, that this is, the angle of the hit. It's not like that. Sport is an inaccurate thing. It's like, and trying to referee it down to the nth science, it's just not going to work. So just try and keep that stuff out of the game unless it's for absolute foul play,
Yep.
But once again,
another thing I sort of think of is maybe limit the number of replays that the TMO or VAR can look at. Maybe 3 different angles, but that's it. And also, let's put a time limit on it.
Now, you're talking specifically to do with the rugby here still?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that, but I'd also take that forward to the football. Let's cross over to the Premier League, where there were so many incidents over the last couple of weekends where, my God, handball, I just don't understand what a handball is anymore. A player can just boot the ball hard as into a guy that's in the box. He can't do anything with his hands, and they award a penalty. There's this thing with unnatural position and all that sort of thing. But even more, even more frustrating than that is when the referee is directed by the guy upstairs, go and see the pictures. The only guy that's overturned the result, the one was an absolute Barry Crocker. So now all they're going to do is go over there and agree with the guy upstairs, aren't they? Yeah. And then they watch the Joe Gomez one, for instance. He was given a handball. Kevin De Bruyne just absolutely wellied it at him. He was almost trying to take his arm out of the way. It hits him on the elbow. It hits him on the elbow, about there. His arm's there, but it hits him on the elbow. And his elbow's tucked in. So how is that unnatural position? It's like, unless you've got no arms as a defender, there must be scouts all around the world looking for people with no arms to great defenders, because they are perfect for defenders, because they can't give it a handball. At the moment, it's just crazy. But then when you go across to look at it, do not show it a million times in slow motion and all that sort of thing. You need to see it at full speed. Otherwise, you're just defeating the purpose of analysing it. So
I've got another question for you, Aaron.
Go on.
Can you score a goal with your arm?
Well, I didn't think so, but apparently you can.
Well, and you're not allowed to. His arm was offside.
My God, that was the worst offside I think I've ever seen. I mean, we had the Sadio Mane one the other day. Yeah. Which was so marginal I couldn't see a gap. This one you could see a gap. He was behind the defender. He was behind him, but he's pointing. I mean, come on. And then I saw where they analyze the points of the body, and it's actually to the sleeve. Yet, if anyone scored a goal with any part of this body, it would automatically be ruled off a handball. So, yeah.
I'd also just like to point out, there's been no problems in the Bundesliga game during the Bayern Dortmund match. Equally close calls, sorted quickly and accurately. So there's no much difference.
I watched that game, man, and there were some that were really close, and they did it. They only watched it a couple of times. They said, no, that's offside. And it was just, it was. It was, it was close, but it was offside. Or, no, that was too close. We're going to give the goal. And then there was a handball decision. They just made the decision. It was like, I don't want to say it, but the Germans, man, they're just efficient. They just...
Efficiency.
And they just common sense. It's just crazy. Once again, though, it comes down to good officiating. It takes good people upstairs that just go, right, crack on. That's that decision. I've made it, and crack on. Not like, I'm not quite sure. Let's get it again. And all the stuffing around, man. As a spectator, as someone who loves sport, it's really frustrating me. And I know I'm not the only one. You can hardly celebrate a goal, You can't
celebrate a goal anymore because it's probably going to be wiped off.
When we scored,
one that amused me over the weekend was the Brighton goal, which was or wasn't. And then
which one?
the Tariq Lamptey.
The Tariq Lamptey one.
Yeah, and there was a video shown of the referee's boss at Stockley Park
At
telling
halftime.
the video referee, I think you got that wrong.
I know. Way to build him up.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was a strange one. I mean, there's just every game, and the amount of penalties now being given.
Crazy.
It has to be a tactic for players now to kick the ball into defenders' arms. That has to be. I mean, if you're going to get a penalty every time, then go for it. When I was saying the celebration one, the Mane goal, when we scored, and I thought we'd won with that great goal that he scored, which was given for offside, which I still couldn't see. When he scored that goal, I ran around, and the wife was going, woo, was running around the living room. Hang on, and then we have to sit down again, wait a couple of minutes while they hyperanalyze it. Still can't see an offside, and then they don't give it. It's like taking that moment away from me, Yeah. And that's me as a fan. God knows how the players feel.
It always used to be that the attacking side would get the advantage, but that's gone.
Completely gone.
Thing now. Yeah.
And what about the linos or the touch judges or whatever you want to call them, assistants? What about them not raising their flag now when it's obviously offside?
They might as well not be there.
I know.
What's the point of them being there?
They go, oh well, just in case it isn't. Well, then won't VAR take care of that anyway? I don't know. I'm just so lost. I'm so lost.
Yep.
With this technology in sport, it was supposed to make things easier.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Oh God.
Now, news yesterday that the Auckland Tuatara has withdrawn from the 2020-21 ABL season, and the ABL's boss Cam Vale. Good to see you wearing your Tuatara there. Cam Vale has accused the Tuatara of mismanagement in addition to being in breach of their license agreement. Yet Geelong Korea also withdraws, and the ABL says it is all due to insurmountable logistical and quarantine challenges. And ABL boss Cam Vales blessed it, said they're fine. Double standards here, or just another case of Kiwi bashing?
Well, I'm sorry, mate. Of course it's a bloody double standard. It's absolutely ridiculous. We've got COVID going on. We're in another bloody country. We've got all sorts of international rules. Let me read the statement. Auckland agreed to the international conference model in August, and no significant circumstances have changed to create their withdrawal. What about a global pandemic? You would have thought that was kind of a significant circumstance, but hey, no significant circumstances. The season structure release from Auckland was from August, had the hub in Auckland. Then we got the media story in October about Brisbane and Adelaide expressing concerns about coming here. And the ABL said, oh, well, that's fine then. Don't go to New Zealand.
Yeah.
So it's fine for them.
Oh,
Yet,
exactly.
when we express concerns about going to Australia, we're the ones breaking. It's absolutely pathetic. And yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't know what this means for baseball. You've probably got bigger, more information on that. It's just a sad situation.
Yeah. Well, following the social media pages on it, the ABL and Baseball Australia has come in for huge criticism over their statement that you just read out part of.
Yep.
Exactly saying that it's double standards. Yes, Geelong Korea provides television coverage in Korea, and tracks anything up to 50 million people watching it. But the Auckland Tuatara bring Sky Sport coverage with them. Not so many viewers, obviously, but still a genuine wedge of cash for the ABL. Yet no other team brings any TV coverage to the ABL. So come on.
And we offer a point of difference. We're in a different country, so we offer just a different market, a different, we're so untapped for baseball. Australia's had baseball in Australia for 30, 40 years, We're just starting up. So, throw a dog a bone, man.
Exactly. And I mean, yes, they did agree to the international conference when it was going to be held in Auckland. Yet, as you said, Brisbane and Adelaide kicked up a fuss. Oh, we can't afford to go there. But that was fine. That was
fine.
According to the ABL. Now, when the Auckland Tuatara say we can't afford to base in Australia, even for a short season, it's like, oh, you're in breach of your license agreement. You'll never be allowed back in the competition again. So, oh, well.
Is there something else going on here, Macca, that we don't know about?
Oh, there must be. I think there has
because why would you? I mean, why if you were running the Australian baseball league, why would you want to alienate one of your, well, maybe not key stakeholders, but someone that offers you something, you know?
Well, they are a key stakeholder because they do offer the television coverage. Every game in New Zealand is televised, so they can show it in Australia. No games based in Australia, they're basically shown on the internet with 2 cameras, whereas you get the full 6 cameras in Auckland.
Yeah, so, and it was only going to get bigger and better. Absolutely. I mean, so there must be something going on behind the scenes. This guy must have an agenda from somewhere. Like you say,
it's strange because he was so keen to get New Zealand involved in
initially.
First season the team was in when Ryan Flynn was still in charge of Baseball New Zealand. We had to put the team in, otherwise we were never going to get invited back. So basically did it on the smell of an oily rag, had 3 home series. The rest of the time the team was based in Australia. So, I mean, we've already done it before and put the financial position of the Tuatara on the back foot right from the start. So, I mean, it's not like we're sitting back raking in the money and just saying F you Australia.
No, that's sad, mate? And you know, on top of this, as if this isn't enough for the Tuatara, Auckland Council throws doubt over North Harbour Stadium, saying the city only needs 1 rectangular football stadium, and doesn't even mention baseball when they're talking about North Harbour Stadium. They don't even mention them. What's the story there? Did the person that was putting together this report not even think about baseball? Obviously.
Well, I don't know what's going on there because they spent millions of dollars creating the outfield for the baseball with the teal monster.
Yeah.
So, I don't know who's written that report and whether he'll have a job to go to on Monday morning.
Oh, he'll produce something else before then, mate. Another spreadsheet. He'll nicely code it up and bring it together with a clipboard and take it to a meeting and justify his existence for another year at the Auckland City Council. Stay on that bandwagon. That's just crazy, mate. Anyway, God bless the Tuatara. If they do go down, hey, look, at least we've got a few collectibles, mate. At least we've got the shirts to remember them and a lot of good memories. They'll be back in some form. There will be baseball back in New Zealand. I mean, I know there's just so many passionate people in this country that love the sport of baseball, and whatever guise it is, they will rise again.
Yeah, well, the sport has grown tenfold in the last 5 years. I mean, there's clubs all over the place that you wouldn't think of. You know, even here in little old Greytown, we've got the Wairarapa Spitfires.
Sponsored by a local establishment.
Greyfriars Motel, of course.
There you go.
Main Street in Greytown. Spend a night at Greyfriars.
You'll love it, especially the proprietor.
Quite right. But yeah, I mean, other towns like Levin and Wellington's really starting to get into it now. Nelson's got a huge program. I think they tallied up with all the T-ball and Kiwi ball that they're running down in Nelson. They had over 1,000 kids taking part in baseball in the region last year, and they've now in the process of setting up their own association. So great growth. And also in the Deep South, we've had coaching courses in both Dunedin and in Invercargill, or they have, I should say. It's not we anymore.
No.
So yeah, the game is really growing in this country, and hopefully the ABL can get their shit together, and the Tuatara will be back again in a year's time.
Yeah, let's just hope that guy gets maybe punted and they get someone else in charge who sort of looks at the whole picture, mate. Anyway, shall we move to football, mate?
Let's move.
The round ball. We've got a bit to talk about. The Premier League table over the past weekend had 4 different leaders in one day. I think started with Liverpool top of the table, then I think Aston Villa, then Tottenham, then Southampton for a while. So, yeah, lots of leaders. It's a very interesting season so far. Is it a brave new world in 2020, or is all this going to work itself out before the end of the season, or have we got another situation like we did back in 2016 with Leicester?
I don't think so. I think it's all going to sort itself out fairly soon. A lot of the teams are having injury problems at the moment, which we'll talk about very soon. Yeah, I think that you'll find the likes of Aston Villa and Everton will probably slip down. Leicester started out with a hiss and a roar last year, and we all know how they finished up the season. So, I can't see them holding on to the top spot for too much longer. I think you'll likely see the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City, and even Tottenham could have a go this year. They've been playing fairly well under your good friend Jose Mourinho. So
Harry Redknapp reckons they got a show. Harry says, "Oh yeah, they can win."
Absolutely terrific. Get
Absolutely
Crouchy
terrific.
in there, and Nico Crouchy. Terrific.
Tottenham for the title. Tottenham for the title.
Yeah.
I reckon.
So yes, I think Aston Villa are playing some good football at the moment.
They are, mate. They are.
Against a very lacklustre Arsenal.
Yeah.
Poor performance. Mikel Arteta won't be pleased with their performance at all. Perhaps they should bring back Mesut Ozil. Hasn't played for a while. He'd be fresh.
It's not going to happen, mate. Ozil's gone. I don't think he's Arteta's going to have him anywhere near the squad. To be fair, Ross Barkley's had a bit of a resurgence. I've never been a fan of Ross Barkley, but my gosh, he's proven me wrong this season. He looks great in the midfield with Jack Grealish.
Yeah, he's had a new lease of life, hasn't he, moving to Aston Villa? So good luck to him. I actually rated him as when he first broke into the Everton side as a 18 or 19-year-old. I thought he was definitely a player for the future, but that move to Chelsea ruined him, didn't it?
And he's not the only footballer to say that. That's for sure.
All right, Phillips.
There's so many players that are still at Chelsea playing for other teams. You're like, how's he? Oh, he's still on. He's on loan. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Absolutely. He went to Chelsea and then went back.
I know.
Back to where did he go? Germany, and then Germany. He was playing for
Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg. Yeah, that's right.
And then City snapped him up, and he's been the best player on the planet since.
I know. They've got so many players like that, Chelsea. Light at the end of the tunnel with the Liverpool injury list. I think we might have written this before. A few others went down. Trent's gone down now with a calf strain for 4 to 6 weeks. And now, yesterday, the horrific news that Joe Gomez has damaged his patella tendon at England training. Apparently, he went down with no one else around him, which is a really bad sign. He's had knee injuries before. Yeah, and so what are we going to do at the back? Klopp and Pep have warned that, that this hectic schedule is going to stuff up their teams. Are they right? And what are we going to do at the back?
Absolutely, they're right. At the beginning of the season, I think you and I were against the proposal to go back to the 5 substitute. I think I've changed my mind now after the way of the season. I mean, really, this Nations Cup that's going on at the moment is a pointless tournament that was invented to get rid of international friendlies, yet England is still playing a friendly along with 2 Nations League games. So 3 games in the space of 7 days, I think. And then players have to go back to their clubs and play again 2 or 3 days later. The schedule's unbelievable at the moment. I mean, Liverpool's just gone through a stretch of 4 weeks in a row with midweek games. And coming up to December, or from after this international break through to for another 4 weeks, they've got 3 midweek games in a row with Champions League. It's probably lucky that we got knocked out of the League Cup because it would be extra games. And I think after the Champions League group stage is finished, we get a break of about 3 weeks where we've just got weekend games. But it's just ridiculous, the number of games. And being crammed in with international games as well, 3 games in a week for your international side. The players are just not going to last. Yes, I know they're getting paid millions and millions of pounds and dollars and euros, but that doesn't.
They're human.
They are human.
They're human. People think, you get paid heaps. You get paid heaps. Suck it up and keep going. You're like, well, they still got you can still get injured. It's.
Yeah. And I mean, it's showing. I mean, at Liverpool, I think Bobby Firmino can't score a goal up front at the moment, so maybe push him back to centre back.
Well, he's a good presser. He can press well. This, to me, it comes down to money, mate. UEFA have sold all these games. These are pointless games. I don't know who's watching the international football at the moment, mate. Friendlies and the Nations Cup, let alone the fact that there's a global pandemic on and these players move from the bubbles in their clubs, go out, and this is how a number of them got COVID last time.
Yeah.
You know, and yet, no, we'll just carry on. We'll keep doing this. UEFA's sold the games to the TV networks. They want their money, so they're obliged to make everyone play. It's absolutely ridiculous. But like you say, mate, these, regardless of how much money these guys get paid and the pedestals that we put them on, and the fans around the world sort of go, oh my God, he's a god. They are not gods. They are human beings. They're like you and me. They've got blood through their veins. You know, they can get injured as easy as the next person. So, no, man, they just need to, they need to suck it up. But the 5 subs thing, that's just a no-brainer. I've heard the arguments for it saying, it favours the big clubs. The big clubs have got twice as many games. So,
exactly.
So, I don't know. Yeah, once again, some common sense would be good in football.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, mate.
Now, Diogo Jota has been on fire since his arrival at Liverpool.
Here's some good news.
Is it time for Jurgen Klopp to find a place from the starting lineup, perhaps in place of a misfiring Roberto Firmino? Although they did play virtually 4 up front against Man City, and it looked really good. I mean, I've only seen the highlights of the game. I was away over the weekend, but from my eyes, that they've got the Fab Four back together again.
Look, I love Roberto Firmino, mate, but he's in absolutely terrible form. He played about 60 minutes of that game. I texted you before and I said, would you start Jota or Firmino or both of them? And you said both of them. You came up with it first, mate, and Klopp was obviously listening because he went with 4. That's a real attacking move. Good. I mean, I was applauding that move. I loved it. I thought, and for the first 15, 20 minutes, Man City didn't know what hit them. We were just all over them. But Firmino was he had 2 or 3 great chances, man. And he just lacks so much confidence at the moment. I don't know how you get him back into form. But the thing is, he's going to get games. He's going to play because we've got so many games. So he's going to get time to play himself back into form. And God, I hope he does. Looking at the stats, though, these are crazy. Diogo Jota has scored 7 goals for Liverpool in 2020. He only signed for us a couple of months ago. Bobby's only got 5 this year. But Bobby does so much more than the goals thing.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I just hope that he gets back into form. I think he will. But I just don't know. You have to keep playing him, I guess, just because of the schedule. But, I just hope.
Hopefully if Liverpool can beat Atalanta next week in that 4th Champions League game, then the next 2 games don't matter. So, he can play the kids in those 2 games, play the kids. So hopefully that'll give the likes of Bobby and Mo and Sadio and all the other boys in the first team a bit of a rest. And hopefully before that hectic Christmas schedule.
Diogo Jota, though, looks freaking amazing, man. I mean, he looks like he could be, absolutely top-notch world class. He's got pace, he's got everything, beautiful control on the ball. That hat trick he scored the other day was absolutely phenomenal. But what are we going to do at the back? What are we going to do? Look, if we don't have Gomez, we don't have Van Dijk, Matip's a little bit dodgy. Firmino's due back this week, though, so he could play at the back. Maybe Firmino and Matip for a little while. And then we've got Nat Phillips. I mean, he played bloody well that one game he played.
Yeah, unfortunately, he can't play in the Champions League games, which is a bit of a shame. But Reece Williams is doing very well there indeed. He's only 18, but he's about 7'8". He's a string. There's nothing to him, but boy, it reminds me of Crouch.
Absolutely, he's a tall bean sprout, isn't he? The bean pole, I should say, bean sprout. That's the child of. But the other 2, we've still got a couple of young guys we haven't seen as well. Billy Comitio, I think that's how you say his name. He's a French kid. He's only 17, but he looks like a bit of a man-child, and he's just come back from injury, so he's an option. And also Sepp van den Berg, everyone's forgotten about him. He was a guy we bought from Ajax a couple of years ago, a very hot prospect, and he could be a go as well, along with Nat Phillips and Williams there at the back. Man, we've got options. I mean, maybe we'll have to look at buying someone in January as well, but we've got options. I don't think it's all doom and gloom, is it?
Yeah, well, if Gomez is out for the rest of the season, like they're talking about, they're going to have to buy a centre back, no doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. You know, you can't only have one senior centre back in your squad. You need
No.
And you know, he's hoping. I mean, there's a few they've been looking at. There's the Upamecano from Red Bull Leipzig.
He had a terrible game the other day against Manchester United, though. He had a terrible game.
And the other one is Koulibaly from
Koulibaly. I'd take him all day, every day of the week, but he's going to cost an absolute fortune, especially when they know we're desperate for a centre back. They'll just pump the price up. Yeah, they'll just pump the price up another 20 million or so, won't they? But look, maybe we just have to play. Maybe Klopp just has to change his tactics, and we just have to score 5 in every game. You know, maybe he thinks, right, we're going to play 4-2-4. You know, they can score 4, we'll score 5.
The Kevin Keegan approach.
Absolutely, it's going to be bloody good to watch. Anyway.
Yeah, and at the other end of the park, there's rumours that the Norwegian wunderkind Erling Haaland may end up at Liverpool after his time at Dortmund comes to an end after comments from his previous team's coach. What do you reckon about that?
I'd take him every day of the week. He's an absolute beast, mate. He is a beast. That guy he looks like an alien from another planet. He's just absolutely, he's got pace. He's got everything. The kid is amazing. Erling, I don't know how he's from Norway, isn't he? He's Norwegian, isn't he?
Norwegian.
So they call it Erling Haaland, I think they call him, don't they? Haaland with 2 A's. Snap him up, mate. Snap him up, because if we don't, he's going to go to Real Madrid or Manchester United or someone. And he's about at his age, he's about as much of a lock as you can be for. He's just going to be an absolute superstar. So.
Yes, and it comes from good stock too. His father, Alf Inge Haaland.
Yeah.
It's known for being on the receiving end of Roy Keane's boot to the shin.
That's right.
20 years ago, a absolutely disgusting foul from the former Manchester United skipper. I think they had a bit of a feud between them, and Keane was out to get him because it happened early in the match. And just
not like Roy Keane.
Just
so out of character.
Interest, I'm following live updates of the Serbia versus Scotland qualifying game. Scotland need to win to qualify for next year's European Championships, which will be their first major tournament since 1998.
Is it 98 or 88?
No, 98 when they played in the France World Cup.
Okay, so that's still 22 years ago, a long time, a whole generation.
So they were leading 1-0 until the 89th minute, Serbia's corner. Oh. And they're currently in a penalty shootout.
And
it's 4-4 in the penalty shootout.
Oh, no!
Scotland going for their 5th one now. So neither side has missed a penalty yet. So we'll just
keep us posted.
Following that. But talking about
come on, Scotland.
Steven Gerrard's Rangers are flying high in the SPFL. Can they go on and break Celtic's stranglehold on football north of the border?
Well, they'll want to, because Celtic are going for 10 in a row, mate. No one's ever got 10 in a row. 9 in a row is the record. Celtic have done it twice, I think. This is the second time they've done it. Rangers did it once. And if they get 10, the Rangers fans will never hear the end of it. I mean, I'm not a Rangers fan. I was quite disappointed when Steven Gerrard went to Rangers, because I'm a Celtic fan. But I can't begrudge him for the work he's doing up there. He's got a whole lot of crap from a whole bunch of people saying, oh, you know, what are you doing? He gets a good job just because he's Steven Gerrard. But he's stuck at it. You know, he's stuck at it for a good 3 years now, and he's finally getting some results. He's building a good side up there, and they're doing pretty good in Europe as well. So I can't say that I want Rangers to win the Premier League in Scotland. I just can't say it. But good luck to Steven Gerrard.
Update.
Go.
Alexander Mitrovic misses penalty to qualify.
Okay. Go, get in there, boy. Good on you, boy. Oh. Woo!
So well done, Scotland. Qualified.
And of course, Steve Clarke, the coach, who used to be assistant coach there at Liverpool when Kenny Dalglish was in charge. So congratulations to Steve Clarke and all of Scotland. Of course, our left back for Liverpool is the captain of Scotland as well.
Right. So
Andy Robertson.
They'll be in for a few pints of heavy tonight.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Right, now, here we go. Our prediction, time to put our prediction hats on.
Okay.
You're going to write these down, Aaron.
Okay, mate. I'm writing them down. Yep.
So
Got my pen.
these will be revisited in May next year. Who is
Right.
your Premier League winner?
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I'm going to go for Liverpool because I'm so obviously not biased. I still think we can do it. I just have so much faith in Klopp. I think he's the best manager in the Premier League by quite a distance, and yeah, I think we'll win.
Me
Yourself?
too. Yep.
Yep.
Me too.
Okay. Yep.
That's
2 now. You also want the remainder of the top 4.
yes.
So I want your 3 now, please. And do these have to be in order?
No.
Make sure. Okay, any order. So give me your top, the other 3 teams to make it through to Europe.
Manchester City.
Okay.
I'm going to go out on a branch here and say, out on a limb and say Tottenham Hotspur.
Spurs. Yep. And one more.
And Chelsea.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm going Man City, of course. I'm going Chelsea. I can't do the same as you. I can't. It's like going out to dinner and both choosing the same courses. I can't do that. I've got to choose something else. Variety's the spice of life. So I'm going to go Leicester City. There you go.
Yep. Very good.
Leicester. Okay, so those are our top 4s.
Yep.
Now, which 3 teams are going to get relegated? Okay, so I'll give you my 3.
Yep.
Fulham.
Yep.
Oh, gee. West Brom. And I'll go... Oh. Last one's hard, eh? I was thinking about Sheffield, but I reckon they'll come through. They're not doing very well at the moment. Who's at the bottom at the moment? We got Fulham, West Brom are close to the bottom. Give me, I don't know who my 3rd one is. So have you got your 3?
Well, same 2 as you. I'm still
Thinking about your 3rd one as well.
a bit stuck on my 3rd one. Let's have a look at the old Premier League table at the moment. I was considering Sheffield United because they've started off the season very
But
good.
I still think they'll get through it. I still think, yeah.
I also think they'll come through, but
okay.
A lot of work.
I've chosen. Okay, I'm going Man United.
Man United.
Just because I can, okay? That would make my year if 2020, man.
At the moment, Sheffield United's bottom, Burnley second to bottom, West Brom 3rd to bottom, and just above the relegation zone are Fulham, Brighton, and Leeds. Surprisingly.
Okay, I'm gonna go Burnley then. They've been absolutely terrible this year, and I think the Sean Dyche effect has worn off a little bit. I think his messages. I don't know whether I know that they often sort of start slow and then get better, and then they're fine before at the end of the year. But I just think they might have done their time in the Premier League. So I'm going to go Burnley. So there you go, Fulham, West Brom, and Burnley.
I'm going to go West Brom, Fulham, and Brighton. I don't think they're going to have a very good season this year.
Okay, well, I think Brighton are quite an interesting team. I think he's got them playing pretty well. I think you're completely wrong there. I think Brighton will finish about 12th, 13th, I reckon. I think they'll be fine. Yep, I think they'll be fine. But that's just my opinion. We shall see. We will revisit this.
We will revisit this. And we'll...
So we've got a couple of changes from our top 4s and a couple of... one change in our top 4s, the Leicester and Chelsea, and one change in our bottom 3, Burnley, and you've gone Brighton. Interesting.
Yes. Brighton.
Okay.
Hove Albion.
Brighton and Hove Albion for the full title.
Yes.
Okay. Shall we move to rugby, mate? Because there was a big game of rugby over the weekend. Of course, you caught it on delay, didn't you? You had to watch it with ads on Prime.
I did. I managed to survive till midday Sunday without knowing the score or knowing after red cards.
And then after about 20 minutes, you called me and went, "What the? That's going on? You ruined the game!" And I said, How far through it are you?
Yeah.
20 minutes. I said, just wait, mate. It gets better. The third Bledisloe Cup was one-way traffic when the Wallabies fired up for the big performance in Brisbane. My God, mate, they fired up, didn't they, in Brisbane? I thought the Wallabies played pretty well after that absolute shellacking they got the week before. The referee ruined the game, but it was an entertaining running game of rugby, and I thought it was quite good that the Wallabies sort of showed a little bit of bottle, a little bit of fight, a little bit of bite. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I thought the Australians were streets ahead of the side that performed so badly the week before in Sydney, and thoroughly deserved their win. I thought the All Blacks were poor in patches, but good in other patches. I think after Tungafasi got sent off, I think they sort of blew it for about 20 minutes, and when the game was levelled back to 14 all and then 14-13 in favour of the All Blacks, I thought they started to string a bit together. But then when who's the Korobiti, when he came back onto the field and levelled the teams up, I thought the All Blacks made a few strange decisions and just tried to attack from every part of the field, and I thought that was a mistake, trying to run everything from within their own 22, and a couple of loose passes ended up with a penalty to Australia, which put them in the lead, which they never relinquished.
Let's be honest, though, mate. Let's be honest. It was an All Blacks B-side, really, wasn't it?
It was. And some of the players did step up, some didn't. And one of those who didn't and has been replaced in the reserves this week was TJ Perenara. I thought he was poor on the weekend. I know Justin Marshall was trying to justify it by saying he's a left-footed kicker and it's hard to kick with your left foot on the right side of the field. Really? I've never heard that comment about Aaron Smith kicking with his right foot on the left side of the field, so don't know where he came up with that one. But, I think, they've basically got the A side back, and one of those players who did come off the bench and performed admirably, apart from throwing one loose pass, was Tyrell Lomax. So I thought he had a great game when he came on, and he's been rewarded with the start this week, and it's good to see Joe Moody back in the front row as well. So
have they replaced TJ with Brad Weber, or the Aaron
Weber's
Smith?
In the reserves.
Okay. That's good. I like Brad Weber. I thought Akira Ioane played really well until he had to get substituted because of the red card. It was good to see him in the All Blacks because he's shown so much promise over the last few years. And I just thought the Aussies looked good and they beat us fair and square. Other than, of course, the ref. And we're not going to go back into the refs and all that stuff. We'll just leave that alone, shall we? What about Ian Foster and Dave Rennie? Obviously, the fight continues between those two head coaches. And what are we looking at? One draw. We've won 2, and Dave Rennie's won 1 and one draw. That's not too bad for Dave Rennie, is it?
Yeah, it's a pretty good start. As I've mentioned on previous podcasts, I've always been a fan of Dave Rennie's coaching, and I think he'll do a good job with the Wallabies. And I don't think he will go down the same direction as old Dingo Dean, who had a real job on his hands and really struggled to get anything going. The big question, I guess, at the moment is Fozzie still riding on Steve Hanson's coattails, or is he the real deal?
Well, we've only seen 4 tests all against the same side, so it's so hard to still make a judgment. That test that we won last week, they played so well. It was reminiscent of the good old days back in almost leading up to the World Cup in 2011, the sort of football they were playing. I absolutely loved that. But then the next week they go and lose. I mean, Fozzie did make a lot of changes, so maybe that could be sort of an excuse for the display. But I just don't think we've got a large enough sample size yet to sort of judge it.
And talking about Sir Steve Hanson, he's heading off to work with the Canterbury Bulldogs in the NRL. Is this a good move for Sir Steve?
Well, it's quite funny because what was this the Bulldogs CEO's name? She used to Raylene Castle, because Raylene Castle's moved over to the what's she doing now, Macca? Sport New Zealand. So she's moved over here, and Steve's going to go over and work with the Bulldogs. I think it's only in a sort of advisory capacity. I think he's only going over there to sort of look at defensive systems. He's got a relationship with Trent Barrett, existing relationship where Trent, when he was coaching with Manly, came in and looked at the All Blacks setup. So I don't see any problem with it. I mean, Graham Henry did it with Argentina. I know it's a different sport, but there are some crossovers, especially around defensive schemes and all that sort of stuff. So I can't see any harm. And I mean, Steve Hansen, mate, he's a legendary coach. He's retired, so good on him. Go for it.
I had to laugh after it was announced, and somebody asked him, are you going to be nabbing all the All Blacks now to come and play for the Bulldogs? And in typical Steve Hansen fashion was, I haven't got anything to do with player recruitment.
I don't have anything to do with that. What are you talking about?
Flush it and move on.
Yeah, love Steve Hansen. Raylene Castle, on the other hand, what do you think? How do you think she's going to go at Sport New Zealand?
Yeah, it might be just more of the same, I think. Proof will be in the pudding with that one. I mean, she's only just stepped in the door a week or so ago. I think she's probably going to be involved in a bit of a handover. I think Miss Skimmony finishes at the end of this month. So, yeah.
Oh, they get handovers in sport. They don't get them in politics.
No. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting early part of 2021 to see if the government has said on numerous occasions there's going to be a massive review into how sports is funded. Whether they actually come out of it on the other side with a decent plan remains to be seen. But hopefully new blood will mean new ideas. And
I would hope that too, mate. But she's an administrator. She's a professional administrator.
Yeah,
she's worked, at the Bulldogs, Netball New Zealand, of course, the Australian Rugby Union, and it doesn't seem to me like any of those really went that well. So I don't really have a lot of hope.
Yeah, I think she did do a good job with New Zealand netball, which is why the Bulldogs poached her in the first place. And with the Australian Rugby Union, I think she was on a
hiding to nothing.
Absolutely, hiding to nothing on that one.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any way that anything she did was ever going to succeed. And I see they've just signed a new deal with the Nine Network to show free-to-air rugby in Australia. So
they're going to bring back Gordon Bray.
Yeah, Gordon Bray and Chris Handy.
That's right. Go you good thing.
Now, talking about Australian and New Zealand rugby, bosses have been discussing options for a Trans-Tasman Super Rugby competition. But now New Zealand Rugby's just gone ahead and released the schedule for Super Rugby Aotearoa.
It just shows you, mate. It just shows you where the priorities lie, and just the myopic. They just got no idea. When we got this new CEO, I had hope, but it hasn't started that well, has it, mate? It just seems like they're just off doing their own thing and not really looking at the landscape around them. They just sort of think it's business as usual. It's not usual at the moment.
Not at all.
So I just think this is so short-sighted.
Yeah, and I mean, now that they've released this draw for Super Rugby Aotearoa, they're now saying that hopefully there'll be crossover games at the end of the season. But I mean, Super Rugby Australia, they haven't announced the schedule yet. So is it going to match up with when our one starts?
They'll have to follow us, mate. They'll have to follow us because rugby has to follow New Zealand, has to follow because we're the best, and everyone else just has to follow. That's the way it works. The All Blacks, we're up here. Everyone else down here, just follow us.
Yep. Whatever.
That's the way. They're just so up their own arse, for a lack of a better term. Canterbury. Let's go to the National Provincial Championship, NPC as it used to be fondly called. Canterbury, along with Wellington, at bottom of the Premiership, facing relegation. Wellington and Canterbury facing relegation. Must-win game, Canterbury against Auckland, of all teams. Their final game is against Auckland. When you asked the question last on the podcast, are the Red and Blacks doomed to play 2021 in the lower championship, or likely either Otago or Hawke's Bay in a playoff, two teams that they've already beaten this season? So what's going to happen, mate? Are Canterbury going to survive?
Well, Canterbury have to beat Auckland, who are currently top of the Premiership, and Wellington have to play Manawatu, who are bottom of the championship and haven't won a game all season. So, I think Canterbury's going to finish. end up bottom of the premiership.
This is 2020, though.
It is
This
2020.
is,
But hey, there's a plan in place to avoid that happening, because with all the talk of
COVID.
promotion relegation, New Zealand Rugby are now proposing changing the NPC again,
Oh my
with
God.
North and South pools to cut down on
Oh.
costs. With Hawke's Bay, Manawatu and Wellington joining the South Island provinces, with some crossover pool games to ensure the Ranfurly Shield doesn't get stuck in one pool. How many
Oh my God.
change the NPC?
Ah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, look, it's only minorly broken. It's because of that stupid bloody divisional system. Get
Yep.
rid of that. Have a round robin. You're done. Instead, they're wanting to fiddle with it. And especially the Ranfurly Shield. The Ranfurly Shield is something that's worked forever
Yep.
precisely because of its format, the way that you do challenge. That is the reason that it's so popular. You're going to go and change that? It's just ridiculous, mate. It's absolutely crazy. And last time I traveled down to the Hawke's Bay, it was on the side of the fucking North Island. Hawke's Bay, Manawatu and Wellington joining South Island provinces. Oh, let's just mix it all up.
And the other thing that amused me was, they're doing this to cut down costs, but they're still going to have 3 rounds of crossover games.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I don't know, mate. I would love to be. Are these, when they come up with these ideas, is it like a liquid lunch and chin on key, and they just sort of get on it for the first couple of hours and they go, right, guys, anyone got any ideas?
No, they go around the room and everybody puts in an idea into a hat and they
draw it out and go, what do you reckon about this one? Jesus, mate.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, a number of former All Blacks have been appearing in a new show on TV3 called Match Fit, about losing their conditioning after their playing days. Have you watched it? And if so, you're surprised at the shape of some of them? Interesting comments about mental health, drinking, injuries, fitness, etc.
Yeah, man. I've been watching it. I've really enjoyed it. For a change, a bit of reality TV, which is a little bit, okay, it's appealing to me because it's sporting and all that sort of thing. But I've really admired those guys for their bravery and their they just strip off and there's a scan of your body image, and some of them weren't pretty and they just sucked it up and did it. And Piri Wepu talked about his battle with depression and self-harm, and Ron Cribb was about his injuries, and it just really it really made me quite warm and fuzzy, really. I thought it was really lovely to see the guys that had obviously, and to see them after their career. Obviously, a lot of them are still struggling to come to terms, because these were also the guys in a lot of them, the first round of professionalism. So a lot of them didn't, a lot of them had jobs or didn't make a lot of money from the sport. So they're sort of, just coming to terms with not having that daily rigmarole, being amongst all the guys all the time. And I thought them coming back to that is a really nice thing. It was like you could see the guys sort of just changing, their demeanor changing, as well as their body shape. So I've really, really enjoyed it. It's lovely, and some great humour there from Ted as well. Graham Henry, he's just a gem. He's just
So I haven't had the opportunity to watch it yet, but I am going to make some time and watch it on the 3 Now app. It's similar situation. About 10 years ago, when I finished my degree, I did some work for the New Zealand Rugby Players Association and did a survey of all the former professional players, over that period, and seeing some of the responses coming back, it was actually heartbreaking, to see some of the results. Obviously, can't talk about in too much depth, but, just where some of these former players were at at that stage of their life after, retiring 4 or 5 years earlier. It was quite sad. Obviously, some of them have done pretty well and gone on to coaching jobs and administrative jobs in the sport, and are doing quite well. But there is certainly a number of former players that are suffering from the likes of what Piri Weepu has gone through. So yeah, I'm pleased to hear your comments, and hope
It's good, man.
being a
It's
positive.
yeah. Yeah, it's well worth a watch, man. I really love. I just thought I love the honesty and the the honesty from all of them. It was really lovely, and some real great humor there too. Inside the dressing room, just Ron Cribb, man. He's such a funny guy. Did I tell you that story? He was saying when he was with Harbour, he was rooming with his good pal. What's the big guy's name? The big lock for North Harbour back in the same time. Ron Cribb and what's the other guy's name? Troy Flavel. He was rooming with Troy Flavel. And he went downstairs, and Buck was the coach of North Harbour at the time. And he was reading his paper in the morning, and he went down and he said, I'm playing for the All Blacks in a couple of weeks, mate. Have you got any advice? Number 8. And he said, and Buck looked up from his newspaper and said, yeah, I got some advice. Don't fucking bother me when I'm having my breakfast. and Ron Cribb said, oh, shit, okay. And he went back to his room, and he's playing with Troy Flavel, and he said, geez, I just had a word to Buck about the game coming up. He said, do you have any good advice? He said, yeah, he wants to see you. Go and have a word to him. I just thought, man, he's just such a cracker. I loved it. So quite a few of those sort of stories have a bit of a laugh. It's real good. Watch it.
Will do.
Shall we move on to something else, mate? Shall we move on to some cricket?
A bit of summer sport.
Yeah, West Indies have arrived, and they're isolating. Well, sort of isolating.
Yeah.
How do you reckon they're going to get on, mate?
Oh, I think they're probably going to get thumped.
Tell me what you really think.
Since they haven't done well in New Zealand since the great days of Malcolm Marshall, Andy Roberts, Joel Garner, Michael Holding, Viv Richards, and those luminaries of the game from the Caribbean Isles. Ever since then, they've struggled when they've come to New Zealand. With the lower, slower wickets, perfect for medium paces. So, I think they'll struggle. They might win a couple of T20s, but I think in the Test scene, I think it'll be not one-way traffic. They'll put up a bit of a fight, but I think they'll get beaten.
Yeah, I can't see it going any other way either, mate.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for me is the Black Caps Test team with. You've got batsman and freshly registered new Kiwi Devon Conway. Will he go straight into the side? And if so, at whose expense? Will Will Young, the Central Districts player who has been unlucky with injuries but is back and firing, could he go into the side as well? But at whose expense? You've got Latham, Williamson, Taylor and Nichols all seem secure in spots 1, 3, 4 and 5. So we're really only looking for another opener, aren't we?
We are. I guess Jeet Raval's out of the picture now after his terrible form last season. So if we're looking for an opener, you've got Will Young or Devon Conway, really, haven't you?
Yeah. In saying that, Tom Blundell hasn't done too bad a job at the top of the order either. So it'd be hard on him. It
would be hard on him. I guess you've got to go. Yeah, it would be. See, these are good problems for the New Zealand selectors. I can't remember the last time when we struggled to pick a top 6 and we had players left over. It's normally like, who the hell are we going to get to bat at 5? And, so these are all good problems. I think Devon Conway, just the amount of runs he's scored over the last 3, he just has to go in. He just has to. So I think Will Young and maybe Blundell will have to miss out. Maybe you bat one of them at 6. Maybe de Grandhomme doesn't play. I mean, I suppose it's horses for courses depending on the conditions. So maybe one of them could play at 6.
Yes, I've never been a big fan of Colin de Grandhomme in the Test team, but he's proved me wrong on so many occasions.
I know, especially with the ball.
He's hard to drop.
Yeah, he's impossible to drop at the moment, mate. He's one of the world's top all-rounders. When you look at the stats, he's averaging mid-30s with the bat and sort of, low 30s with the ball, and that's just great. So, I've always, he's a bit like Botham, really. Yeah. He never really looks dangerous. Well, he does with the bat. Obviously he's belligerent as hell with the bat. But bowling, he just looks like he's coming in, trundling in, bowling, little things that are just doing nothing, and then all of a sudden he gets a wicket. That's what Botham used to do, So, Colin, I'd have him in the team every day of the week, especially if you need an extra bowler.
Yeah. And talking of bowlers, Kyle Jamieson has started the domestic season on absolute fire, picking up a hat-trick last week, or a couple of weeks back now, against Central Districts. And along with his height, has apparently added a few kilometres per hour to his speed. He could be on fire this summer.
Mate, did you see that delivery that we got his hat-trick with? I think it was.
Oh,
it was just an absolute. I don't know what the batsman shouldered arms, but it seemed back from about 4 foot outside the off stump and took out his middle stump. It was just absolute cracker. This guy could be. I mean, he looks like he could be anything, doesn't he, mate? He looks Australian. He looks like a big Australian fast bowler, and have we needed one of them since Shane Bond retired? So him and Lockie Ferguson opening up with and Trent Bolt. I mean, my God, that's a face attack, mate.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Jameson's arrival, is at the end of for a staple in the Black Caps attack like Tim Southee. Can he continue to hold his place in the side?
I think it has to be the end for Tim Southee. I'm sorry, mate. I mean, I've loved you to death. You played really well, but last season he was dribbly. And when you've got someone like Jamison who's probably bowling 10 clicks quicker, he's a foot taller and he's younger. I mean, but then again, the Black Cat selectors are notoriously conservative, aren't they? So, who knows?
Well, I mean, the other battle is, do you... Neil Wagner's just been on fire in his whole Test career.
He has to be picked.
You talked about Lockie Ferguson there. I mean, does he get another chance after being injured in Australia last year and not really getting a chance to show?
I think it's a horses for courses thing again, isn't it, mate? If you get a green seamer and you got to start Lockie Ferguson, you got to, but if you get a wicket that's going to be benign and you're in the subcontinent or you're somewhere like that, you always pick. You always put Neil Wagner because, on a flat wicket, he's just going to run in all day. So I think that's how you do it. I think you've got horses for courses and also, they're all going to play at some stage. So I think it's nice to have a core of a group of fast bowlers that you can sort of rotate and keep them fresh. So good problems again,
Yes, and we're going to be listening to different commentators this summer with cricket now being broadcast on Spark Sport. They announced the commentary team the other day. It looks like
Did they?
Scotty Stevenson's going to be the captain, taking over from Smithy. There'll be the likes of Stephen Fleming, Brendan McCullum, Craig McMillan will be in there, a couple of former women's internationals, and Rebecca Rolls and Frankie, can't remember her second name.
Tory.
But your old mate, Mark Richardson, has managed to swap his allegiances from Sky to Spark, and he will be part of the commentary team as well.
That man, he gets around, doesn't he? He gets around, that man. If there's a job, he's getting it, mate. Sounds like a half-decent commentary team. I've never heard Scotty Stevenson call one ball in cricket. I don't know. I mean, I understand you need a front man.
I think he might be more the front man than...
okay, so he's not actually going to be doing commentary?
I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, that would worry me a little bit if he was. Mind you, Nisbo did it and stuff like that. I mean,
yeah. I'm a Scotty Stevenson fan. I love his rugby commentaries. I think he's brings a bit of humour into it as well.
I don't mind him. I just didn't know he did cricket. So
he's done baseball before.
But that's the thing. No one else in New Zealand has done baseball. There are other options when it comes to cricket. Someone like Jeremy Coney, I just love listening to that man. And, I just don't know why TV doesn't get him back. Is he too old now? Doesn't appeal to the new generation of cricket fans or something. I don't know. But I just love listening to him. So I still think there's other people they could have chosen. But hey, we'll see how they go.
Quite right. Moving on to rugby league. Now, the series is interestingly locked at 1-1.
Yeah, mate.
After
it is.
New South Wales Waratahs got up and thumped the Queenslanders during the week. What have you made of the first two games, and who have you been your standout players?
Okay, mate. Well, so far it's if you go by halves, it's 3-1 to New South Wales. I mean, New South Wales in that first game, they should never have lost that first game. They came out in the second half like they thought they had it on toast, and Queensland turned up. And since then, New South Wales have been all over them again in that second game. One word for the Origin so far, mate. Underwhelming would be my word for the Origin. The first game was sort of like a club game. The second game was a little bit better, but even the fight was underwhelming, mate. Payne Haas and Fomasowalili, I'm sorry I've assassinated his name, but it's got about 500 letters, so I can be forgiven. It was just a bit meh, really. And I don't know whether it's the lack of crowd, because they're having it at the end of the year. It's sort of just taken a bit of the
gloss
mongrel. It just doesn't seem right. There's something wrong with Origin.
I see Queensland coach Wayne Bennett come out and blame the media for the fight. What?
I heard him yesterday being interviewed, and he said, you come out in the papers, of course all these guys read the papers, and they're like, hang on, you always say they never read the papers, but now they do read the papers because what was it? It was like take out Haas or something was the headline or something like that anyway. And he's like, look, these guys are 20 years old and they go into the course that's going to fire them up. Well, okay, pin it on the wall. I don't understand where Wayne Bennett's coming from, but Wayne Bennett knows how to motivate his players. That's what he needs. So guaranteed anything he's saying is for motivation for that third game. It's not for us. It's not for he's only doing it for the players. So we can go, I don't know where he's coming from and make a story out of it. But Wayne Bennett doesn't give a shit about that. He gives a shit about the players. And I reckon that the third game, I'm hoping, will be like a proper Origin. It's going to be in Queensland. Yep. So, lots of maroon and lots of passion. And hopefully there's a stink as well, and it's a good one. Nothing wrong with a bit of fight in an Origin, mate. Nothing wrong with it at all. Right. And did you see the way Payne Haas came off the field with that jersey ripped off, looking like the Hulk? Had a jersey ripped off, and it was. I was like, that's what we want to see, But going back to the days when Benny Elias had his head swathed in bandages and blood all over him and all that sort of stuff. Get back to that. But underwhelming is how I would class the Origin so far.
Wins game 3?
Wednesday coming up. It's just bang, bang, bang. Yeah.
What's your prediction?
Well, I think New South Wales, mate. If you look at the two teams, New South Wales are well overpowering Queensland. They're just head for head. You'd probably take 13 of the New South Welshmen over the Queenslanders, but that's not always how it goes in the Origin, and that's how Queensland won the first game. They didn't look like they were even in the game at half time, and they came out in their second half and they brought it. I cannot believe that Queensland are going to play like they've done the previous two games in Queensland. So I think New South Wales, but just narrowly, even though their team should massively overpower Queensland. I just think Queensland will get up for that last game. Hopefully it's a great game of Origin.
And finally on rugby league, with the Toronto Wolfpack now out of the British Super League, has Sonny Bill Williams played his last game of any code with an oval ball? Maybe
he has. Maybe he'll just stick to the boxing from now on. Maybe Paul Gallen will be up for having a bit of a stoush. Because I know he's going to fight someone soon, and if he's still alive after that, he might be into fighting Sonny Bill Williams. It would be a shame. It would be a shame if that was the last we saw of Sonny Bill Williams, because I love him. I mean, people love to knock the guy and pull him down. Oh, he's slow. He doesn't do anything. Sonny, money, Will Williams and all that. How can you criticize a guy for making money? How can you that people want him? That people, just enjoy what he does on the field. And what he does on the field is great. I love watching Sonny Bill Williams play. So full credit to him.
Yeah, I agree totally. He was a superstar in both codes.
Absolutely.
So I mean, he's been a polarizing figure over the last 10 or 12 years, but you always try and look at the good in people, don't you? And,
absolutely.
It's all the knockers. Doesn't matter how good a person is. You see people who used to knock the likes of
Jonah. Jonah's the perfect one. They always used to say he's too slow. He can't tackle. He can't turn around and chase. He can't do all the things he couldn't do. You get the ball 15 meters out, even with two guys to beat. There's no one else you want with the ball. It's Manu Vatuvei used to get it as well in rugby league. All these guys. It's like look at what they can do. You know, I mean,
Quite right. Well done, Sonny Bill Williams, on your oval ball career in both codes.
Absolutely. Should we go to a bit of American football? Let's go to the States, mate.
American football.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are still the only unbeaten team left in the NFL. Are we seeing a rebirth in the Steel City, mate? Are we seeing a rebirth? And the question on every New Yorker's lips is, will the Jets ever win a game again? I thought they might have the other day. They were so close.
They did get very close, didn't they? But not quite good enough. Who was it? They went. There was only a couple of points in it, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cam Newton. It was the New England Patriots, and yes. They were ahead by about 14 points with about 10 minutes to go. Cam Newton, 2 winning drives down the field. It was beautiful clock management right at the end there, and then they kicked the winning field goal to win the game, and the Jets just fell flat on their face. Yep. Actually, the guy that kicked the goal used to kick for the Jets just to make it even worse. So, yeah, it's just poor old Jets.
The Steelers are on absolute fire. I mean,
they are.
They have had some what you would call easier games, but they've still played some tough teams. You know, they've still gone through the Ravens. The Titans have been playing well this year, and the Eagles. But big ups to the Steel City. They are playing very well. They've and the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, have only lost 1 game this season, so they could be in 2 feet. And I think, even though the Steelers are unbeaten, I still think you'll find the Chiefs will probably end up being in the Super Bowl, and I'd love to see them playing the Seahawks in that Super Bowl. I think that'd be a fantastic game, especially given the 49ers are probably going to struggle to make the playoffs this year. So,
the 49ers, mate, we ain't got any players. We're like Liverpool. We got no linebacker. We got no quarterback. We got no one. We're still playing pretty well. Ben Roethlisberger, of course, is injured though for the Steelers now, so that could be a big thing for them. I'm not sure how long he's out for, but let's revisit this again in a couple of weeks as well, man. Who's your pick? Who's your pick then? After saying that you think is that your pick?
Yeah, Chiefs and Seahawks for the Super Bowl.
Chiefs versus Seahawks is your pick. You going to write that down for me? I'm going to go for the Saints against the Ravens is my pick.
I never pick the Saints.
I know, neither do I. But I don't like the Saints. What? Mate, but they are just on fire at the moment. I mean, Drew Brees, he's just got an offensive line that's just providing him with so much coverage, and I just think he's just looking like he's just so good at the moment, mate. I have never seen him so well protected for so long. I just think they could go all the way. I don't want them to, but I'm just picking with my head, not my heart, mate. So I'm going. There you go. I'm going for the Saints and the Ravens. You can write that one down. Visit that again in a few weeks, shall we?
Yes. Quite right indeed. Quite right.
Okay. Other sports, mate, have the Halberg Foundation given themselves an uppercut? Well, probably, knowing them, by making the 2020 awards for the decade only. Now, of course, if they do this, they're ignoring some magnificent feats of our top sports people just because the Olympics were cancelled. How do Scott Dixon, Scott McLaughlin, Israel Adesanya, Chris Wood, Courtney Duncan, etc. feel about this?
I'm sure they'd be pretty pissed off, to be perfectly honest.
This year just doesn't count.
No, obviously not. It's crazy that the Halberg Foundation have made this stupid call. Absolutely astonishing. There have been other, non-Olympic and non-Commonwealth Games years. There's a bit, the lists of potential nominees is always a bit smaller than those years. So why is this year any different? There's still been sport going on. The rugby team, if they win the rugby championship, the All Blacks could be nominated. Ian Foster might get nominated for Coach of the Year, and the Black Caps have, apart from the poor performance in Australia, have performed pretty well this year. So why are they being ignored as well? So
Isn't this just a perfect illustration of exactly where the Halberg judges sit as far as what sports that they consider important? Obviously, the Olympics, everything else, you know.
Yep. Olympics and Commonwealth Games, which is
Commonwealth Games.
Commonwealth Games, yeah.
Yeah. Is that still on?
The Commonwealth Games?
Yeah. Hang on.
Yeah.
Have I lost you? Hang on.
No,
hang on.
still here.
Okay. Just stay with me. Yeah. I mean, since when have the Commonwealth Games been relevant, mate?
Oh, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, you know, and just talking about Israel Adesanya, I see he's not going to be home for Christmas.
He's stuck. Poor guy. Poor old Izzy. Get Izzy home for Christmas.
This new guy, he was over there being in the corner for, what was his name? Carlos Ulberg?
Yes.
He looked pretty handy. Not that I'm much of a UFC critic, but
I feel so sorry for Israel Adesanya as well. I mean, he's never going to get recognised by the Halberg judges, though, so it doesn't really matter for him. I mean,
he won it last year.
Yeah, but I mean, they had to, didn't they? I mean, he can't. They'll just say. I mean, who else was going to win it last year, though? I mean, I just think they were pushed into a corner last year, so they had to do it. But I just think if he continues winning, they're not going to give it to him again. They'll just say, "Oh, he's already got it. We've already given it to him. There's other things on. There's a Rugby World Cup. There's the Olympics." I just think they gave it to him last year, basically to shut up the fight fans and everyone else. That's could be wrong, but
yes. Oh well. Talking of fights, former NRL star Paul Gallen is going to fight UFC star Mark Hunt.
Yes.
In favour of these types of fights, and if so, who have you got?
Well, I'm in favour of it if they both want to do it. I cannot understand why Paul Gallen would do it. I just think you're a moron. He's been handy in all his fights before, but he's fought other rugby league players. And Mark Hunt's been fighting professionally for over 20 years. And he's got a head harder than a dozen coconuts, mate. You just can't take this guy. I know it's boxing. It's only boxing, isn't it? It's not UFC, so there's not going to be any kicking or anything like that. He's not going to be able to take him to the ground. But I just think it doesn't matter how hard Paul Gallen hits Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt's not going to go down. So you'd better be ready to get hit yourself, mate. And I just can't see how Mark Hunt doesn't do anything other than knock Paul Gallen out. So yeah, I'm in favour of them if they both want to do it. I think Paul Gallen's big enough, old enough, and grizzly enough to know his own limitations. So if he wants to do it, it's not like he's Mike Tyson. It's not like he's 50 plus. You know, he's still a relatively young man in his 30s. So go for it. What about you?
Oh,
what do you think?
Couldn't care less either way, to be
no idea. Well, mate, Sonny Bill Williams has got to fight someone. So you know, maybe Paul Gallen at the end of it if he's still alive.
Yeah, quite right.
Or John Hopewadi, maybe.
And just while we're on, getting things out of our system, after talking about the referees and the tuatara and all that other stuff, can TVNZ and News Hub give themselves an uppercut for their sports news coverage? It's absolutely pathetic at the moment. Already sick of the America's Cup.
What was that thing that I sent you the other day? I said, leading the sports news tonight, when there was some big sports stories going on. I don't know who's doing it on either channel. Let's be honest. I don't just blame News Hub. I blame TVNZ as well. I just don't think.
Well, TVNZ, the day that Scott Dixon won his 6th IndyCar title,
that was it.
It led with the netball.
That's right.
Really?
And then I think Scott Dixon came 3rd or 4th in that bulletin. Yeah. And it was like a quick mention. Yeah, look, both of these organisations have sports departments. A lot of them have been culled in the last 5 or 10 years of a lot of their more experienced journalists, and that's basically the problem. That's the reason we get such shoddy sports coverage, because there's a lot of young people in there and they've got other ideas about what needs to lead and what is sport, and I suppose they've been hired for those reasons.
Yeah.
But where it leaves people like you and me, mate,
anyway,
where it leaves us is not watching the news on those networks anymore, following it on other platforms. That's what we do. like this podcast.
Quite right, quite right. On that note, let's call it quits. I'm sick of being negative, and hopefully we get a weekend of sport that we can talk about next week, and it's all positive. No,
Yeah, cheer up.
no millimetre calls on the VAR. Thanks this weekend. No red cards in the rugby.
Good luck.
Let's have some good games, and we've got some nice, good sport to talk about next week. So,
I hope so, mate.
Goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him. Keep smiling, Macca. Don't do your